Welcome to the My Jesus Story podcast. I'm Kim.
And I'm Ezra.
And today we have Guy.
Thank you for having me. Don't hold this against me, but I was born and grew up in Cleveland. I lived the first 10 years of my life in East Cleveland in a 2-story, 2-family house. At one point, 8 of us lived on that second floor in the attic. At the time, I was the youngest of 5 kids within 3.5 years separating us. When I wasn't quite 5, my father died quite suddenly from what was thought to have been pancreatitis. By the age 8, my mother fell in love with a man who accepted us 5 kids with love. They married when I was 9, and by 10, our newest sister was born. Seeing as the house was quite cramped, we built a house and moved to the suburbs. In the suburb Solon, we attended the Presbyterian church in which I grew up to know Jesus. The church was a tremendous place to help my spiritual growth, and I was very blessed to have a Christian mother. The Christian lifestyle has been a big part of my whole life. In East Cleveland, my family attended Trinity EUB Church, and oddly enough, the Sunday school teacher I remember the most was my mother. At one point at the EUB church, I remember asking the minister how old God was. And his answer was, he always has been and he always will be. He knew that was a hard concept to understand, but that's the way it is. So I remember doing VBS activities, and at the Presbyterian church, I was fortunate to have a caring pastor, the Reverend Paul Musser. With all this growth, I was a pretty good kid, except I just didn't like to study. It showed up in my grades, and there were a lot of parent-teacher conferences because of this. I remember a Spanish teacher who sat us according to our grades. Needless to say, I sat next to the door, and quite soon I was out the door. So. However, the summer before my senior year, I was cutting grass for several people in the neighborhood. One of these times while cutting grass, I had what I called an epiphany, and now I feel it was the Holy Spirit entering my life, and He gave me a choice, and it was clear as day. He was speaking to me. Either I start studying and improve my grades and go to college, or I would go to Vietnam when it was at its peak, and I would come home in a pine box. So I'm very grateful I chose to go to study. I made the honor roll several times my senior year. And then I went to the University of Akron, and there I was a member of Phi Alpha Theta, which is a history honorary. I spent the first 34 years of my life in Cleveland. It's probably been over 50 years, but I still remember one sermon. It was based on 2 Timothy 4, the last few verses. Paul, while in prison, is wrapping up his letter to Timothy and requesting certain items for Timothy to bring to him. On the surface, this ending seems rather innocuous, but Paul is requesting his cloak. A few verses later, he is saying to bring it before winter comes. But the minister was able to use the cloak as a metaphor for our relationship with Christ, and do it before winter comes was a metaphor for our stage in life. The bottom line of the message was to establish a relationship with Christ before it's too late. This is a message for unbelievers as well as the believers to be an effective witness to others. I was married the first time in 1982. In 1984, the company I worked for closed the Cleveland branch and transferred everybody to Cincinnati. 1988 was a very, very dark year for me with this wonderful silver lining. My first wife left me for another man, and we were divorced. Within months after that, my company decided to close the Cincinnati branch, but just taking a very few employees with them. So there I was all of a sudden without a family and without a job. One thing I did is to start taking the kids to Mount Moriah Church. Formerly, we went to a Presbyterian church, and I just didn't feel comfortable there. There, Linda was a Sunday school teacher. It got to where when I picked up the girls, I would stay a little longer and just chat with Linda. I strongly believe that God had his hand in having me transfer to this church. On December 22nd, 1988, we had our first date. 1 year later to the date, we were married. And I cannot thank God enough for having Linda be a very important part of my life. It is such a wonderful blessing to share life with her. While I know God doesn't embrace divorce, I'm convinced he brought Linda and me together. She has embraced my 3 daughters as her own. We have taken several Bible study classes together in our marriage. One of the most valuable ones was the Disciple Bible Study put on by the Methodist Church. In a 36-week period, we read and studied 85% of the Bible. At that point, we had a thirst for this kind of study, and we grew spiritually from it. Later, we became certified to teach the course. Linda and I have taught Sunday school together for several years. We helped lead a small group Bible study as well. With other friends, we are part of an online devotional group called Through the Word. This has helped our spiritual growth and our prayer life. So I'm so thankful that God allows repentance and offers his grace and forgiveness. Years ago, Linda and I each made our own Christian mission statement. Mine goes as follows. With God's blessing, my mission is to live with Jesus Christ as my foundation. With this as mine, I am called to love the Lord with all my heart, soul, and mind. I shall strive to love my neighbor as myself. I feel I am called to be a witness for Christ through service. But whatever I do may not be for personal gratification, but rather for the honor and glory of God.
How has discipleship and going to Bible studies and things like that, like your spiritual growth with Christ, how has that enriched and just maybe how has that enriched your relationship with Christ with how you live for him and on a daily basis and things like that?
Now we do daily Bible reading, and we do a devotional, and we do prayers together, and it makes me act like, what am I supposed to do for you today, Lord? And for me, it's service. When I worked for Claremont Senior Services, I did that for 15 years. It's in transportation, taking people to doctors, and the daycare center, which I really enjoyed. I mean, those people, a lot of them are Alzheimer's, and remember one day to the next, but they knew you. Boy, they just knew me. So, just be there with them.
Yeah.
So, and I remember one lady, I mean, she taught me a lesson. She got off the bus for a doctor's appointment. I said, well, good luck with the appointment. And she goes, I don't need luck. I have God's grace. Well, she taught me a lesson. So,
Yeah. Yep.
You've talked about being active in church as a little kid, and I know you're both very active now. What is the importance of having a church community around you, whether it's for love or support?
well, both of us, our families, Linda's family's far away, and the closest member of my family's in Middletown. The rest are in Cleveland, South Carolina, Oklahoma, Florida. And this church is a church family. They are our family. So, I mean, we talk about stuff.
Mhm.
We need support, they're there. If they need support, hopefully we're there for them. But when we built our house in Bethel, we attended Mount Moriah Church, which is in Amelia. We were still involved, but when we went to meetings, it's a 25-minute, 30-minute drive each way. And we didn't think that was right. And we decided to go to Bethel United Methodist. But we also feel that if you're going to be part of that church, you need to be involved with it. So that's why we quit Mount Moriah, just so we could be closer to home. And
The main reason you told me that we wanted to change churches was it's important to know your friends and everything in your community, to be involved in your community, and that would be through the church.
but on a more humorous side, when Linda said she dated two men and they both went to Mount Moriah. So I like to tell people we moved because I wasn't going to give her the opportunity to find another man.
I think God picked that when she said she wanted a guy, and that was so funny. He sent you a guy.
Yeah.
That's so funny. You mentioned in 1988 it was kind of a crummy year, but then it ended with meeting Linda, which is fantastic. But did you find yourself wavering with your relationship with God, or did you find yourself kind of digging in and relying on Him more?
I kind of relied more and more on him. He's all I had at the point. So, but with that said, I know God has a sense of humor. While I'm praying I needed a job, one night Linda called up and wanted to know if I wanted to be Sunday school superintendent. Well, that's not the job I was looking for.
Volunteer position, probably, right?
But it was pretty cute.
Do you have any advice for people who are going through a low?
Just hang in there, keep praying. If you need support, try to find it. So, yes.
Through your church community?
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
You had mentioned that Jesus talked to you and told you to start studying. Have you had any experiences like that since then, and what does that look like?
I guess I've had one or two experiences like that. You get this gut feeling that you need to do something. When we built the house, I wasn't working, and we were spending full time building the house. We did the painting. Linda did all the staining. But after the house was built, he told me to go get a job. And
It was time.
it was time, yeah. And it was helpful. I mean, we got medical coverage, what we didn't have before. We were paying it for ourselves. And Claremont Seniors took Linda where other companies at that time had pre-existing conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And they could have said Linda's not covered. So they accepted her.
Mm-hmm.
And I thank God for that.
Right. I feel like God talks to people all the time, but it's not in a booming voice.
Okay.
And the more pictures we can paint for people to help them understand that God might be talking to them,
Yep.
but it's not. They need to quiet themselves and learn to listen.
Yeah. Yeah. You feel something in your gut, and you better act on it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm. Who is God to you?
well, God is my salvation. That's number one. He's my go-to person in time of need, and with Linda. But he's somebody I can talk to and pray for direction, and he will do that. So he's number one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Have you seen extreme change in anyone through God that inspired you?
Primarily, first one be Pastor Paul Mosser, who was a great influence on me, and he left our church and went on, but he grew in his relationship, and we got to know each other personally after he moved by sending cards. There's Bill Bottle. He was a big influence for me, and one sermon I remember from him was Ephesians 2:8, and if I were to rewrite the title sermon, it would be "When Close Ain't Close Enough," and he referred to an airplane crash in Kentucky where there was two runways next to each other, and the pilot chose the wrong runway, and the plane never made it. It went up but crashed, and that means you can do all the nicest things in the world, If you don't have a relationship with Christ, you're not there. You're close, but you're not close enough.
Mm.
I remember that sermon. Jim Catron, he was there for me. One time when I was living in the house by myself, they asked me to go somewhere with them. And I said, well, I have a date that. And they want to know, is it with Linda? Yes. So he was very helpful. But he was there when I first attended the church. He was there when I had lost my job to give me support. So that was helpful. My family. I'm not going to, Linda, she's been a great influence for me. I'm not going to deny that. I mean, I was a low point in my life, but when I met her, things just brighten up, and happy to see the sunshine again. And oh yeah, she's very important to me.
I think it's so neat how the Lord does send people into your life. And, sometimes it'll be for a season and sometimes it'll be for the rest of your life. And he does that to change you. He brings those people into your life to bring encouragement, to bring you closer to him and things like that, and to grow you. It's very neat how he does those things.
Yep.
Do you have any advice for new Christians or people who are just meeting Jesus, and then also advice for people who have known him for a while to keep their enthusiasm, keep them from falling off?
Okay. Well, if you're a new Christian, I would hook up with somebody that's possibly your age, your lifestyle, same job, or just hook on with them and let them be your example. And I mean, church is important too. So I would not, you need to go to church, in my opinion. And growing up, I mean, here we are in our late 60s and 70s. And we still go to church. We still go to Bible studies. It's still important to grow. And we need each other to support. So, yeah, you need to keep going.
Do you have a favorite, like, biblical character or?
Yeah, a couple of them. I like the parable of feeding 5,000 just because it talks about leftovers. But the prodigal son, you have the father, you have the one brother, and you have the prodigal child. And I've been in all three shoes. So, I've been the father who's had to forgive. I've been that prodigal son seeking forgiveness. And I've been that one son who has to learn acceptance. So that's important to me. Oh, yeah. I have a sicky movie also. It's whenever I'm not feeling good, we put in Joseph in this Technicolor Dreamcoat. So that's just fun to watch.
That lifts your spirits?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
It's funny. I mean, it's good. It's a lot of music.
You're sitting on a bench with Jesus. You look at him and say.
Well, in life, lots of time there's like I get in trouble, and 99 times out of 100 I know why. But my first response is usually, what did I do to deserve this, in a negative way? But in a positive way, like being married to Linda, what did I do to deserve this? And that's what my question would be to Christ. What did I do to receive your salvation?
That's an awesome answer.
Yeah. So, yeah.
That's an awesome answer. Thank you for coming on the podcast today. And we're also going to thank Teddy and Dotsie, the dogs, for letting us invade their space this evening. They were very gracious. Thank you for listening to today's episode. Join us next episode for another encouraging testimony on My Jesus Story podcast.